Good morning. It's Wednesday, about 10 o'clock. If I was just going to be completely honest, I made a little video and I didn't have the volume on. I imagine all people that do these things have done it numerous times. That's why they are incessant about confirming that the volume is on and they didn't just waste 20 minutes of rambling to themselves. But regardless, today is not going to be particularly any technical analysis on any stock individually, but just some more of a discussion briefly about, well, the state of the economy and specifically about oil. And when we look up oil, I mean, I think anyone that's involved with keeping updated with the economy has seen what's happened. Oil in some exchanges had literally dropped down to prices that have been unheard of. I mean, they used to like kind of fearmonger and say if oil dropped below $10 a barrel. Now we're much lower. We're not at $9. We're at $2 right now, and some exchanges literally seen the price go negative. So with that in consideration, it's kind of crazy. While I was doing it, my stocks turned blue here too. So I have no idea what the heck happened here. So I'll have to look at that. So. Yeah, so I'll try not to worry about that right now. That's besides the fact, but I'm not sure if they paused it or something, but I have no idea why these have turned blue. It's on every one of mine right now, so maybe I just clicked something by accident, but maybe there's something else that's, I have no idea. Maybe it's just a little glitch here in TradingView, or perhaps I clicked something that I'm just unaware of. Okay, regardless, I mean, the real reason that I came on here was just to state the fact that oil has dropped below these prices, and when you really think of like the ramifications of that, it's kind of it's quite troubling. I mean, a lot of other people that I was listening to last night were they were a lot more fearful than I want to come across, because you can always come across as fearful, and there's a difference between being informed and educated and living in fear, and that's the distinction that I want to provide you with. So, seeing that the whole, seeing the crash of oil from to zero or to $2-3, or basically a non-profitable amount. I mean, just knowing a few factors that, and these might not be perfectly correct, but I think on average, it is $55 a barrel for a lot of oil industry in the States to be profitable. So considering that, I mean, you're almost certain that the oil industries in America, which the U.S. is the global leader in oil production. So considering that the U.S. is the leader of global production of oil, and it needs an average cost of $55 a barrel to be profitable, and we've seen just like the decline of the oil industry and how it's been gutted, and it's been in trouble for a while, but this is just like the nail in the coffin, man. Like, so to see it drop to these levels. We now have the U.S. at full reserves. It can't even store any more oil anymore. And there was points yesterday when people that were selling oil were literally having to pay the buyers to take it off of them. So that's just that's crazy when you think of how could a global asset like oil, that supposedly the American dollar is based off of the petrodollar, go to zero. And there's a lot of activity right now. Like, there was an OPEC agreement like a few months ago. I don't know the specific dates, but we can just Google it right now just to give you the cookie crumb. But yeah, it was OPEC. So I'm not sure when it was, but they basically said that they're not going to have these price wars, and the Middle East and Russia specifically can produce oil at a lot cheaper than this. So let's say the 55 is incorrect. Regardless, the premise is that the Middle East and Russia can produce oil for a much cheaper dollar amount than North America can. So they can lower the prices to create this price war to, you know, basically bankrupt their competition. And when it's all said and done, they can start rising the price of oil back up. I'm not saying that that's specifically what's going on, but it's more or less, it's not good for the state of world peace, because oil is a driving factor of a lot of small countries and a lot of big countries. And Russia in itself has a huge proportion of its GDP that's dependent on oil exportation to places like China. Now the Middle East is trying to undercut those sales, and it's just an interesting cat and mouse game of oil going on right now. And the ramifications economically across the world is guaranteed, because even like a country like the US, if it's the largest producer of oil in the world, and oil is literally worthless, what's that mean for the amount of money coming in, right? It's going to be slashed enormously. Canada as well, specifically provinces like Alberta. I mean, they're going to feel this horribly, right? I mean, it's almost a certainty of bankruptcy with all of these oil countries, oil businesses within these oil countries. So knowing that, the only option is really to have more quantitative easing, right? So we're going to, more than likely, North America is going to have no choice now to I don't know why I'm typing, because I can't type, so we're just going to stop that. North America has no choice now but to literally probably bail out the oil industry. And the oil industry itself, I imagine that it's not a small company. I don't think it's even going to have something like that. But how many trillions of dollars are they going to have to print to bail out the oil industries in America themselves? What about all the countries of the world, right? And it's just another factor that goes into this whole development of things. And I think it's an important factor to consider, and to consider how much of many countries across the world, their GDP is completely reliant on oil, and to seize that from them in the state of a global pandemic when their economies are already shut off, it's basically like stomping out the little flame that they have, you know, the little source of revenue that they have coming in, that is now expunged for a lot of these countries that don't have, let's say, wealth coming in from different assets. Some countries are heavily dependent on oil, and I know Russia is one of them. So it's going to definitely create an interesting climate, and people have been a lot more fearful than me when I'm telling you this stuff, but I think that it can just add on to what I've already said and my message that's been there. The more money they print, the more gold and silver you should be buying. And I mean, the more assets will go up, real assets, physical assets. So the value of things, right? So you want to be acquiring things that have value right now, not just like things, not just the price of things. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's just it's another thing that I think it's very important to be informed of, and it's going to be interesting seeing what actually happens in the next few days. I mean, seeing what they'll do to try to help bail this out. But regardless, they may bail this out, but I think that you know, whenever we have a move to the downside here, right? I mean, is this completed even, right? Did they follow an ABC pattern and now we can come back up? But overall, I mean, any way, shape, or form you want to take this information, it's not good for the relationship of America, Russia, and the Middle East on a geopolitical standpoint. It's very horrible. I mean, and never mind those big three areas. We're not talking about smaller countries that are really wholly dependent on oil as their means of economic finance. Like, these countries could be facing a lot of, like, well, what's going to happen? I mean, I can't foresee the future here, but older people than me that have seen this this thing happen in countries, some countries are going to be hit hard. And I mean, this could be the stuff that really stirs, you know, really shakes the foundations of what we've been used to. So I think this is another piece of information that's saying prepare. And I wanted to just come out and say this stuff because, oh well, anyone that has ears to listen and is searching for the truth, I mean, I want to be here delivering my best interpretation of reality that's happening. And I'm doing this just to protect my my loved ones and anyone that has taken it upon themselves to be educated. And these are the times of great opportunity and great danger. So to see all this change and turmoil, I mean, it's an interesting time for sure. I mean, this is just the the next step of what's already happening. I mean, it's yeah, it's an interesting time, man. But regardless, I don't think that anyone could take this in a positive light. And all the like, there's this whole industries, and especially in America, like looking at like states like Texas, they have literally whole towns that are funded by oil and oil alone. So you're going to take the livelihood of some of these areas and it's going to be completely destroyed, at least in regard to what they were used to, right? They're not going to be in that good old oil days, right? In the oil patches making $100 an hour working on the rigs. No, it's going to be, you can't even sell this shit to anyone. So all that infrastructure built is not going to be in production, at least in the near temporary future. And the livelihood of millions and millions of people is going to be at stake, which is only going to guarantee more printing of money, more inflation, and you could see how this shit could start spiraling out of control. And every time we print more, I'm just going to be buying more gold and silver because it's inversely related. And I wish you all to realize that fact. And that's where other assets too, that they might have value in this kind of time. And I mean, whatever's not in a bubble right now, so it's an interesting thing. I mean, seeing if I can get a quote here, but yeah, this was the guy right here that said this this quote. He said, "People know the price of everything and the value of nothing." And it's saying, the point is that you don't worry about the price, you worry about the value of things. So when you look at something like gold, you're not buying it for the price of it. You're buying it for the value, and the value that it could have. And especially like some of these other countries that are not so first world, like Canada, like, man, like I'd be a lot more worried. Like I'm sitting here like basically contemplating, worst case scenarios, not to be fearful, but to be prepared, just to entertain possibilities, and never mind like somewhere else, hey. But I gotta get going here. Hopefully you have all a good day. Food for thought. Be the light, be positive, be prepared, educate yourself, and you can end up very well during this time. Take care.